Strength is not held in the arms, nor in the sharpness of steel. Strength begins in the mind, long before the sword is drawn. The body obeys the mind and the sword obeys the body. If the mind hesitates, the body freezes. If the mind doubts, the sword misses. I have seen men of great skill fall before the simplest foe because their thoughts were untrained. I have seen the weak survive when their bodies were small because their minds were vast. The difference between failure and mastery begins where the body cannot reach, inside the head, in the quiet chamber of thought where preparation and clarity reside. Most men believe that fighting is physical. They believe that the sword alone decides victory. This is a lie sold by vanity and pride. The sword is merely a tool, the mind is the wielder. A blade is sharp, but a mind is sharper. A strong arm can strike, but a disciplined mind determines when, where, and how that strike lands. All the power of the world means nothing if the mind allows hesitation, fear, or confusion to rule. One step too late, one breath uncontrolled, and the body becomes a liability. Mental mastery precedes physical mastery because without it, the body can accomplish nothing with precision or consistency. When I trained, I spent more hours sharpening thought than practicing strikes. I studied the movement of opponents, but also the movement of the mind. I learned to notice how doubt crept, how fear whispered, how impatience tempted. Each of these intrusions, if ignored, would have ruined technique. The body can move perfectly in calm, but the moment the mind loses composure, even the most practiced stroke falters. Awareness is the hidden strength, the invisible edge that separates the fleeting from the eternal. Without it, steel and muscle are blind. Discipline of the mind begins with observation. You must watch your thoughts as they appear without judgment, without attachment. Notice how the mind reacts to insult, to delay, to danger. Notice how it rushes, freezes, or seeks distraction. These habits are not weakness. They are signals of where the mind has not yet trained. To correct them, to act with clarity under any circumstance, is the foundation of all true skill. Each movement of the sword must arise from stillness, each strike from focus. If the mind is scattered, the body moves in chaos, and even the finest steel cannot correct it. I've walked into battle knowing my opponents were stronger, faster, or better armed. Yet I survived where they fell, not because of brute strength, but because my mind was calm and commanding. I knew where my focus must be, how my attention must flow, and how my judgment would guide my actions. The sword followed naturally. Strength without direction is nothing. The body, like the blade, is an instrument. It serves the mind, and only the mind can wield it perfectly. Many train their bodies and neglect the mind. They lift, run, strike, and practice endlessly, believing mastery is measured by speed or force. They are deceived. The body may perform, but it will break under the unexpected. Pressure, fatigue, surprise, these are the true tests. When fear arises, when plans collapse, when the unexpected attacks, the untrained mind falters. The disciplined mind, however, adapts instantly. It perceives clearly, chooses correctly, and the body responds with effortless precision. This is why I train the mind first. The body follows the lead of thought, but it cannot correct thought once it is lost. Focus is the first weapon, awareness is the second, clarity is the third. Without these, technique becomes repetition, and repetition is predictable. A sword alone cannot create unpredictability. Only a mind that sees what others miss can act with creativity and control. The mind calculates distance, anticipates intention, senses rhythm. The body, no matter how strong, cannot sense these on its own. It strikes blindly if not guided by thought. Training the mind is not meditation alone, nor thinking alone. It is learning to command, to control, to see beyond what is immediate. Every strike begins in the mind long before it is executed. There is no substitution for this discipline. Weapons can be sharpened, the body strengthened, but the mind that hesitates cannot be fixed by steel. No external tool can give calm where panic rules. No amount of practice can overcome a mind that is untrained to lead. Therefore, the sword is only as strong as the mind that wields it. Every movement, every choice, every response begins with thought. And the better the mind is trained, the more formidable the warrior becomes, even against superior numbers or force. True preparation is invisible. It happens when no one watches. It happens in quiet reflection, in repeated self-examination, in observing fear and impatience without yielding. It happens when the mind decides, long before the body acts, that no circumstance will surprise it beyond measure. The eyes may see movement, the hands may hold steel, but the mind is the unseen commander that directs all. Without this command, the body acts chaotically, and the sword is nothing more than an ornament. This is why men who focus on physical power alone are easily defeated. They are like a blade without purpose, sharp but directionless. The one who masters the mind directs every blow, anticipates every strike, and moves through chaos with a calm that cannot be shaken. Strength is born in thought, honed in awareness, and expressed through the body and the sword. This is the principle that guides all mastery. Control the mind, and the rest will follow. Every morning, every action, every choice is an opportunity to train the mind. Discipline in thought carries over into discipline in action. The eyes notice what others miss. The hands respond with instinct, but instinct shaped by understanding. The body endures what fear would otherwise destroy. The sword becomes an extension not of muscle, but of clarity. And in this alignment, victory is no longer a hope. It is a natural outcome of preparation. The lesson is clear and simple. Strength begins above the sword in the quiet chamber of the mind. The body obeys. The sword obeys. The one who controls thought moves before hesitation can arise, strikes before fear can whisper, and stands unbroken while others fall. Master the mind first, and all else follows. Fear is not something to be ignored, nor is it a sign of weakness. It exists in all who walk the path of action. The difference between those who are controlled by fear and those who command it lies not in the absence of danger, but in the discipline of the mind. Fear arises because the mind imagines what might happen, and it clings to what it wants or wishes to avoid. Those who do not understand this mistake reaction for reality, and in doing so, surrender control before a single strike is made. I learned early that fear is a teacher, not a tyrant. It is a signal. A message sent by the mind to reveal where you are unprepared. When it arises, the body tightens, the breath shortens, the thoughts scatter. This is the moment most men mistake for failure, and yet it is the moment of instruction. Fear does not attack you, it points out what you have neglected. Those who flee from it will always be chasing the lesson behind it. Those who study it calmly, without panic, discover wisdom that cannot be taken by force. Fear feeds on surprise and uncertainty. The mind, when untrained, exaggerates danger, invents threats, and multiplies obstacles. This is why men panic at the sound of movement, the sight of a blade, or the threat of loss. It is not the event itself that terrifies them, but the mind that misreads it. Observation alone begins to dissolve this power. When you see fear as it is, without judgment, it loses the ability to dominate. It becomes a signal to focus, not a voice commanding retreat. Most people treat fear like an enemy to be fought with brute strength. They try to push it away with willpower, shouting, or distraction. This is futile. Fear does not vanish when resisted. It returns stronger, more insistent. Only by observing it calmly, by acknowledging its presence without surrendering to it, can it be diminished. When the mind watches, fear becomes nothing more than a passing sensation. It is no longer a tyrant, but a guide showing where the mind must pay attention. The body responds to fear before the mind notices. The hands tighten, the muscles stiffen, the heart races. This is why physical mastery alone is insufficient. A strong arm cannot strike with precision if it is guided by panic. A sword, sharp as it may be, cannot cut cleanly when wielded by a trembling hand. Therefore, the first task of the warrior is not to strengthen the body, but to discipline the mind. To breathe, observe, and act despite the presence of fear. I have walked into situations where danger was real, where death could come in an instant, and yet the mind remained still. Not because I was fearless, but because I understood fear. I did not suppress it, I did not ignore it, I did not act as if it were absent. I let it arrive, and then I acted. This is the difference between those who are overwhelmed and those who are unstoppable. Fear signals where the mind must focus, and clarity allows the body to respond effectively. Fear is amplified when the mind becomes attached to outcomes. The desire to win, the fear of losing, the need for approval, all these magnify the whisper of uncertainty into a roar that drowns reason. When you release attachment to results, fear loses its anchor. Action becomes clean because it is not motivated by desperation. The sword moves where it must, the hand strikes when it must, and the mind observes without distraction. Detachment is not the absence of care, but the mastery of attention. Training the mind to observe fear requires repetition, patience, and honesty. Each time the body tightens, each time the breath shortens, each time panic appears, you must acknowledge it and continue. This is not easy. The mind will rebel. The body will protest. Comfort and ease are tempting, but they are not allies on the path of mastery. Every moment in which fear is present and the mind does not yield, the warrior grows stronger. Fear also teaches the limits of perception. It shows where your awareness is narrow, where judgment is clouded, where attention is fragmented. To study these moments without attachment or judgment is to sharpen the mind in ways no physical exercise can achieve. The calm observer learns to anticipate the rush of fear, to note the subtle cues in the environment, and to act with precision when others are paralyzed. The mind becomes a weapon more deadly than the sword, because it sees clearly where the blade must strike. Many believe courage is the absence of fear. This is false. Courage is the recognition of fear and the decision to act regardless, but true courage goes beyond acting despite fear. It involves understanding it so thoroughly that it no longer surprises or controls. The mind trained in this way does not hesitate, does not doubt, and does not tremble. Action flows naturally because it is not contaminated by the imagined consequences that once held sway. Pressure is the proving ground. Fear appears loudest when stakes are high, when time is short, when life is uncertain. Those who have practiced observation in small moments when stakes were low are ready. Their minds are calm. Their focus is clear. Their breath steady. They act decisively because they have trained the mind to receive fear, not be commanded by it. Those who ignored these small tests will falter when the true challenge arrives. Do not mistake this for passivity. A mind that observes fear does not hesitate. It is alert, active, and present. The stillness is not weakness but preparation. The calm is not indifference but readiness. Fear, when understood, becomes a tool, not a trap. It teaches timing, attention, and focus. The one who controls fear gains insight into themselves, the opponent, and the moment in a way that brute strength alone cannot provide. Every warrior faces fear. Every student of the blade encounters moments where hesitation threatens to undo years of training. But the difference lies in the mind. The mind that watches fear, studies it, and continues, transforms it into power. The mind that flees from it becomes enslaved. Fear is never removed by avoidance. It is mastered by recognition. This mastery allows the body to move freely, the sword to strike cleanly, and the spirit to remain unbroken. The path of the warrior is not about eliminating fear. It is about seeing it, understanding it, and using it. When this is done, fear cannot command action, it cannot cloud judgment, and it cannot dictate the life of the warrior. The sword follows the mind, and the mind that commands fear moves unhindered through chaos, danger, and death itself. Master fear, and you are already victorious. Discipline is the foundation upon which all mastery is built. Without it, skill is meaningless, strength is wasted, and fear is allowed to grow. I have watched many men train endlessly with the sword, yet they fall in the smallest moment of pressure. Their bodies are strong, their movements practiced, but their minds are undisciplined. Discipline does not exist in the swing of a blade alone. It exists in every thought, every breath, every moment of preparation. The mind must be trained before the body can act with precision, because without internal order, even the perfect technique will fail when the moment is real. Discipline begins with small acts, rising before the world demands your attention, sitting in silence when comfort tempts you to move, breathing calmly when the body insists on tension, speaking truth when ego whispers falsehood. These may seem minor, but they are the building blocks of mental fortitude. Every time you choose action over avoidance, clarity over chaos, You strengthen the part of yourself that fear cannot touch. These small moments accumulate. They are the invisible sharpening that precedes any visible skill. Action without preparation is reckless. Repetition without reflection is hollow. Many believe that mastery is measured by the number of movements performed, the hours spent striking, or the intensity of effort. This is deception. True mastery is measured in the quiet moments when the mind learns to resist distraction, to observe without reaction, to act without hesitation. Only then does action become effortless and precise. Technique without discipline is noise. Discipline turns technique into a weapon. The mind must be made familiar with discomfort. If the mind seeks ease, the body will follow and the sword will falter under stress. I trained to remain steady while others demanded immediate results. I trained to be aware when my instincts screamed for safety or haste. Each repetition of self-restraint built a foundation that no chaos could destroy. Discipline is not suffering. It is instruction. It teaches the mind what is necessary and what is irrelevant, what will serve and what will distract. Consistency is the unseen force that separates the prepared from the unprepared. One cannot practice discipline only when convenient. It must be cultivated in ordinary moments, repeated until it becomes instinct. Rising early, observing the world without distraction, controlling breath, noticing thoughts. These daily practices condition the mind to respond under pressure without fear. The sword follows naturally from this preparation. The body obeys a mind that has been disciplined long before any danger arrives. Without discipline, hesitation rules. Hesitation invites error, opens openings for enemies, and allows fear to control the body. The disciplined mind does not pause in doubt. It observes, it calculates, it moves with clarity. Pressure does not surprise it. Danger does not unnerve it. The mind has been trained so consistently that action flows before indecision can take root. The sword is only an extension of this clarity. Steel does not compensate for scattered thought. A calm, disciplined mind strikes accurately even with an imperfect blade, while a reckless body with perfect steel fails. Discipline also teaches patience. Impatience is the ally of fear. The hasty strike is the predictable strike. The mind that is untrained seeks results before understanding. A disciplined mind waits, observes, and acts when the moment aligns. It does not force action, but it does not hesitate when action is required. Every choice is deliberate, every movement intentional. Fear cannot grasp what has been prepared in advance. The pressure of the moment cannot break what has been strengthened in the calm of preparation. Observation is the tool of discipline. To see what others miss, to notice subtle shifts in balance, timing, or intention, requires a mind that is awake and attentive. Repetition alone is insufficient. One must combine it with reflection and self-awareness. The sword may move thousands of times in practice, but if the mind has not learned to observe and correct itself, the movement is empty. Discipline is the union of practice and awareness. It transforms repetition into mastery. I have seen those who rely on strength or speed fail against opponents they believed inferior. Their bodies moved, but their minds did not. Fear crept into hesitation, and hesitation ruined execution. Conversely, I have seen smaller men, slower men, but disciplined in mind, move with calm and precision that made the impossible routine. The difference was preparation of the mind before the body. Discipline is the invisible training that underlies visible skill. The challenge is to maintain discipline under fatigue, under distraction, under discomfort. The mind will resist. It will invent excuses. It will seek comfort. These are the moments that test whether discipline is genuine. True mastery is revealed not when conditions are favorable, but when they are difficult. The sword is merely a reflection of the mind in these moments. The body obeys what the mind has rehearsed, and the mind has been strengthened through repeated acts of deliberate focus and control. Every morning, every act, every choice is an opportunity to cultivate discipline. The world will offer no relief, no guidance, no reward for weakness. Strength arises in the quiet moments of preparation, in the refusal to surrender to distraction or impatience, in the repeated practice of observing, controlling, and acting. These are the unseen victories that become manifest when the moment demands it. Discipline does not make action easier. It makes it certain. When the mind has been trained, the body moves without question. The sword strikes without hesitation. Fear finds no foothold. Chaos cannot sway the prepared. This is why the mind must be trained before the body, before the battle, before the test. Discipline is the hidden strength that ensures nothing can surprise or unnerve you. Understand this: the sword alone will not save you. Strength alone will not protect you. Only a disciplined mind, prepared through repetition, awareness, and self-control, can respond with clarity under pressure. Training the mind before the body is not optional. It is the path to mastery. The blade is the expression of the mind, and the body is its servant. When the mind is disciplined, the sword moves with inevitability, and no force can stand against it. Discipline is not a single act, nor a single day of effort. It is the constant shaping of thought, the deliberate ordering of perception, and the repeated refinement of action. Every small moment contributes. Every choice matters. This is the invisible work that prepares a warrior long before the first clash of steel. Train your mind daily, and the body will follow. Attachment is the root of weakness. When the mind clings to outcomes, to expectations, to the approval of others, fear finds a home. The desire for victory, for recognition, for survival creates chains that bind thought and movement. The moment the mind insists that the world must bend to its wishes, hesitation enters. The sword falters. The body stiffens. Fear arises not from the challenge itself, but from the mind's unwillingness to accept what is. Those who are free from attachment move through life and battle with clarity, precision, and calm, for they act without begging for the world to favor them. Most people are enslaved by imagined futures. They see only what might happen, what they hope for, what they dread. Every potential loss becomes a chain, every possible failure a trap. Fear feeds on these attachments, whispering constantly of consequences and judgment. The body reacts before thought, tightening, shaking, constricting. The mind becomes a prisoner of its own desire. And action is no longer guided by reason but by hope and worry. This is why detachment is not indifference, it is liberation. Detachment does not mean ignoring reality or abandoning effort. It means seeing the world as it is, accepting outcomes without clinging to them, and acting with full intensity regardless. A detached mind does not pause because of doubt. It does not rush because of desire. It simply observes, calculates, and moves. The sword strikes where it must, the hand responds instantly, and the mind remains calm. The absence of attachment removes hesitation, the breeding ground of fear, and replaces it with freedom and precision. I have witnessed men fall not because they were weak, but because they clung too tightly. They imagined a perfect victory, a flawless result, or the praise of others. When reality disagreed, panic seized them. Every distraction, every imagined judgment, every longing for success or fear of failure became a chain that pulled them away from the moment. The blade of the opponent required only a fraction of their hesitation to find its mark. Clinging to outcome is as dangerous as any weapon. To train detachment, one must practice seeing without grasping. When action is required, act fully, but do not insist upon the result. Strike because striking is correct, not because you fear failure. Move because movement is necessary, not because you crave victory. Speak truth because it is right, not because you seek approval. In this way, every action becomes pure, untainted by hope or fear, and the mind gains clarity the body cannot create on its own. Fear thrives where attachment rules. The moment you insist that a single path must succeed, you invite terror. The moment you insist that judgment, safety, or approval define your value, you lose control. Detachment severs these ties. The mind no longer searches for guarantees, the body no longer hesitates, and action becomes natural. The sword moves with inevitability because it is no longer burdened by expectation. The detached mind also sees opportunity where others see danger. Attachment narrows vision. It focuses on what must be preserved or gained. Detachment allows the warrior to notice subtle shifts, to perceive openings, to act decisively in chaos. Those who cling are blind to nuance, while those who act free from expectation see clearly and move swiftly. This is why detachment is a weapon stronger than steel. It allows the mind to act where fear would otherwise paralyze. Detachment is cultivated through repetition and honesty. Each time the mind reaches for comfort, praise, or certainty, it must be brought back to observation and action. Each time the body reacts from desire or fear, it must be guided by purpose. This is not easy. The mind rebels. Ego protests. The world offers distractions to lure the mind back into attachment. True practice is tested not when life is easy, but when uncertainty presses and the stakes are high. I have trained to act without craving success. I have trained to accept failure without shame. I have learned to move freely when nothing is guaranteed. This is not passivity, it is preparation. The body becomes sharper because it is not weighed by expectation. The mind becomes sharper because it sees without distortion. The sword becomes unstoppable because it is guided by pure clarity, not influenced by desire or fear. Attachment also masks judgment. When the mind clings to what it wants, it misreads the world. It sees threats that do not exist and misses openings that are obvious. It interprets events through the lens of hope or dread rather than clarity. The detached mind observes without distortion. It sees the strike coming and the opening forming simultaneously. It chooses the correct response instantly because it has no need for consolation, no need for approval, no need for imagined futures. The practice of detachment is not merely strategic, it is transformative. It reshapes thought, action, and perception. It teaches the mind to respond rather than react, to calculate rather than panic, to move with precision rather than hesitation. It trains the body to obey thought that is calm, deliberate, and free from distraction. The sword becomes an extension of clarity, not of hope or fear. Every motion becomes inevitable because the mind no longer hesitates or clings. Many men believe that detachment requires the absence of desire. This is false. One can desire skill, one can desire growth, one can desire mastery. The difference is that desire must not dictate action or reaction. Desire becomes a tool, not a chain. When desire is mastered, the mind moves freely, even under pressure. The sword strikes naturally. The body responds instinctively. Fear cannot anchor itself in the mind because there is nothing to hold on to. Pressure is the ultimate teacher of detachment. The higher the stakes, the greater the temptation to cling. To survive, to win, to be praised, to avoid shame, these all pull the mind into attachment. Yet the trained warrior observes the pressure without yielding. The breath remains steady, the vision clear, the action precise. The sword moves where it must, the body responds instantly, and the mind remains unbroken. Attachment has no hold over the prepared. Every act, every choice, every movement is an opportunity to practice detachment. The world will not wait, it will not yield, it will offer no guarantees. Those who cling to expectation invite fear. Those who act with clarity without attachment find freedom. The mind trained in this way is unstoppable. The body, guided by such a mind, is unbreakable. And the sword becomes a natural extension of thought, unimpeded by hesitation, unclouded by desire, and unshaken by fear. Detach from outcome, and the mind moves without hesitation. The sword follows inevitably.